Hi, my name is Jocelyn Turner. I'm 32 years old and currently residing in New York. So get this, I am originally from Malaysia and I am a permanent resident of Australia. I work for an Australian NGO that builds wells in Africa, and I'm married to an American. So I've been to these 4 different parts of the world during 2020, and so I'll just take you through, I guess, my journey. I was in New York meeting my now husband for the very first time. We were online dating and I had flown over in December to see him, December of 2019, to meet him for the first time, and was there right up till January 2020 when we were starting to hear all these murmurs and news of this virus that was coming from China. Unfortunately for me, I was actually flying home through China Airlines, which was a little nerve-wracking, as I was like, okay, I don't know what this virus is, I don't know how bad it is, but I'm flying through China. There was no masks or any regulations in January yet in the airport. They had just told us about the virus, but there was no masks, no temperature checks, nothing. So I had flown through China and thankfully arrived in Malaysia safely. So first I was in New York, flew back to Malaysia, and then flew out pretty much almost immediately to Africa. And when I got to Africa, which was Tanzania, they were doing the temperature checks and making sure that we wrote our details at the airport and told them where we were living and everything like that. And if we were sick or anything or had any signs, we were to quarantine, but if not, they were letting us go. And while I was in the villages working with Wall of Africa, we were hearing from the doctors that Africans can't get this virus and they were immune to this virus. So it was an interesting thing. But while we were in Tanzania, we weren't getting much TV news. Internet was slightly slow. So when we turned on our Wi-Fi at the airport on the way home, we were getting all these news about toilet paper going missing or toilet paper running out from grocery stores in Australia, in different parts of the world, and we were like, what's going on? And we thought, little did we know, that perhaps diarrhea was one of the symptoms of COVID, because we just had no idea what this virus was, how it was contagious. We didn't understand why people were going crazy about toilet paper. And so then I got back to Malaysia, and very soon after that, unfortunately, we went into what we call a movement control order, which is Malaysia's version of a lockdown. And that was tough because originally they said it's just going to be for 2 weeks, and then after the 2 weeks comes, they say it's for another 2 weeks, and after the 2 weeks comes, it's up to another 2 weeks. And by the end, it was like over 60 days before we were let out. And the lockdown or the movement control order in Malaysia was very strict and regimented by police and army and officers and everything. So we had a curfew, we couldn't go out before I think 7 o'clock and couldn't leave the house after 8, and shops were closed and all that kind of stuff. You could only send one person from each household to get groceries, which was usually my mom, and you couldn't even really go out for exercise or anything that was not counted as urgent or necessary. So it was a good time, I guess, to spend more time with family and reconnect. But I guess after 60 days in a confined space, we were all at each other's throats and had enough of each other. And so we were glad that things had loosened up. But a lot of people got in trouble in Malaysia. They were giving out fines like nobody's business. They were fined $1,000 for even being out a little bit, or being out with more than one person, or different things like that. And so different people were getting in trouble and being thrown in jail for a night, or different things like that. So it was heavily controlled by the police and the army. And then I had to renew my permanent residency and return to Australia. Thankfully, Malaysia let me out because I was an Australian permanent resident, and because I was a permanent resident in Australia, Australia let me in, and so that was a real fortunate time because borders were all closed and I got to fly out. And in Australia, it was really, really strict. Thankfully, at that time that I flew out was June, and in June, they had compulsory, mandatory 14-day hotel quarantines where you had to stay in a hotel for 14 days. All food and lodging were provided, which for me, I'm grateful. A lot of people did find it difficult because it felt like a prison, being stuck in a confined hotel space with no windows, no balconies, nothing for 14 days. I just tried to take it as a free holiday and relax and enjoy myself, and took long baths or watched movies or contacted friends via FaceTime and WhatsApp video calls and different things like that. So I tried to keep myself busy for the 14 days. We were allowed every 3 or 4 days to go for a walk within the confined indoor space, but it was like an outdoor patio for 15 minutes. So it really was tough on a lot of the residents, I guess, mental health. But thankfully for me, I kept occupied and enjoyed myself, and the food wasn't too bad. And thankfully my friends were kind enough to send me surprise deliveries like Uber Eats, and I got like some bubble tea, or I got a package delivered, and it was nice. And so after 14 days, it was like woohoo, freedom. And it really was shocking because I walked out from this strict confined space that was checked by the nurses. You couldn't leave the building, and we had COVID tests, I think twice while I was there in the 14 days. And so then to go out and in the shopping malls, it was packed in Melbourne where I was in Australia. People were still going on with no mask, like nothing. And unfortunately for me again, within the first week of being in Melbourne, free out of quarantine, Melbourne decided to go into lockdown because cases were going higher and higher, putting everyone at risk. But no wonder, with no one wearing masks and everyone not social distancing, it's no wonder. And so we all went into lockdown. This time the lockdown wasn't as regimented as Malaysia's lockdown, but it was still strict, where we could only leave for an hour a day, and that could be for groceries, that could be for exercise, that could be to do your post, to do your mail, banking, those kind of things, to go to the doctor. So it was an hour a day where you could go outside to get fresh air, but everything else was closed, cinemas, shops, everything, apart from grocery stores. That was, I think, from July for me, all the way till end of October before it loosened up. And that being indoors all the time, and I just had my housemate, and it was a new place for me, kind of thing. It was a little tougher on my mental health, I must admit. Like, I found myself sleeping a lot more, watching a lot more TV shows and Netflix than I would normally, not really having a regular routine, eating badly, really relying and enjoying deliveries or different things like that, or fast food. I know a lot of people during COVID took that opportunity to kick goals and become the best versions of themselves. I tried, but failed miserably. But yeah, that was sort of my experience in these 4 countries. So then after Australia, November, I flew back to New York to be with my now husband, and I will get him to come in to share a little bit about online dating during COVID, and long distance relationship during COVID, and getting married during COVID. Alright everyone, this is my lovely husband, Cliff Turner. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what your experience is like online dating during COVID?
We started dating right before the pandemic. There was a lot of uncertainty just because we didn't know when we'd be able to see each other, when we'd be able to travel. The numbers were so high in the US that I couldn't go see her, and she couldn't come to me. So it was just it was a lot. So we talked a whole lot about much everything and anything under the sun, and that kind of allowed us to continue to grow together as a couple. And I think that long distance experience is a good experience for us both, so that we both have that time to just get to know all the little parts about each other. Even still with the wedding during COVID, that was very intense. Very intense. A lot of rules, a lot of different protocols to follow. Only a select few amount of people, and doing so many things over via Zoom and applying for marriage license online, and that was just a very interesting experience overall. At the end of the day, I think it's made us stronger as a couple with all the there you go. I think it's made us stronger as a couple. Yeah, I would just tell anybody that,
don't
be great.
It.
Yeah, but I would say just be grateful for just whatever you have and whatever you're doing, and don't let anything stop you. So don't let COVID stop you. If you want to do something, you just do it.
Yeah, I think the beauty of it was that we made a commitment to each other quite early on, and we knew what our intentions were. We wanted a future together, and so it was great that we were fortunate enough to be able to establish that really on, and that we were able to meet each other in person before it got crazy. But then I think the hard part, especially for a woman, I think, is to go through all the disappointments, the delays and the setbacks. There was a lot of that where you're thinking, all right, we'll see each other in March. No, we can't go, it's a lockdown here. Then we'll see each other. No, the numbers have gone crazier. And so it was looking impossible to travel and see each other kind of thing. And it was actually really hard to plan a wedding. I think every girl sort of has their sort of dream wedding of what they think it'll look like or imagine what it would be. And I think what we ended up having was nothing like we imagined, but it was everything we needed. And the beauty of this era is our technology. I think being able to have a live stream wedding where everyone around the world could be a part of it was really unique and really beautiful. And we're just grateful that we had an opportunity to be able to be together now. And we really, I guess, give out our sincere condolences and empathy to everyone that's lost somebody during the season. There were many deaths, and COVID has really affected everyone. And there's a lot of loss, not just with lives, but loss with jobs, loss with finances, loss with houses, all kinds of things. People are lost in health. So many people are affected in a detrimental way, whether it's in New York, whether it's in Malaysia, Australia, or even in Tanzania. We were really praying that people in Africa wouldn't be so affected, because they don't even have clean water to be able to wash their hands and things like that. So thankfully the numbers weren't as devastating as the different parts of the world, but everyone, this is the first time everyone is affected and everyone is together in this. And so we're just sending everyone our best wishes, our prayers that we'll get through this together. We're better. Keep staying connected with people. Keep seeing the little joys in life, and be grateful about every little thing. Life is so short, and be grateful, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all from us.
Yeah. Bye.